We're in Gosport preparing for our first race of the next 2 months, which is the Fastnet Race. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of footage with you of what happens on this beast here, and I thought it was a great opportunity to just give you a quick tour, so you know what the boat looks like that we're going to be racing for the next 2 months. So this is the name of the boat is a Mirror 4, but it's racing as Be Water Positive. We are Team Be Water Positive, powered by Canada Ocean Racing. This boat was launched in 2021. It's a Verdier design, and it was originally launched as 11th hour racing, specifically designed to do the ocean race, which is the crewed round the world race in stopovers. It's a very powerful design, so straight away when you look at the bow of the boat here, you can see there's a lot of volume in it. It's very wide. It's got a lot of volume coming up to the deck, and that all provides stability and power. And then immediately we can see the shape of the foils, which are also very powerful foils. Now they've got quite a sharp elbow in them, and the reason for that is because the foils come almost kind of vertically down out of the boat, and so they had to have a sharp elbow in them to keep the tip to tip distance between the foils within the rule. And what that basically means is that the foils go very deep into the water and they push the boat very high out of the water, and all of this makes for quite a powerful boat and sometimes quite a wild ride. So let's just go have a look on deck and see what else we can see. First thing you can notice is that we've got this huge fully covered cockpit. So there's 2 ways in and out of the cockpit here and one on the other side, and we've got these fabric flaps that go over the top. Now when the boat's really going, there's just tons and tons of water coming over the deck, so having a solid structure just keeps the sailors safe, keeps them dry, keeps them able to see, and it makes living on board a lot easier. And then at the back of the boat we've got the jockey poles here, so these we put out when we're flying the biggest sails downwind, so that's the spinnaker or the big masthead 0. You can see that the rudders kick up at the back, so that's similar to our old Imoca with the kick-up rudders, and the idea with those is that as you're sailing along you only need to use one rudder, so you can take the rudder out of the water to reduce drag, but also they have a fuse on them, so if the rudder hits any debris, rather than breaking the rudder will actually just pop up, and hopefully it saves your rudder. So we're in the cockpit now, the nerve centre of the boat. This is where all the hard work gets done, and it's a huge cockpit. This boat was designed to be raced by a crew, which means that we've actually got kind of seats for everyone on board, and there's a lot more room down here, and you can in places stand up. Well, I can, which is quite amazing. We've got quite a few tall people on the crew, and Scott, the skipper of the boat, is also very tall, so he can't stand up. But down here, this is where all the lines come for us to adjust all of the different sails on the boat, changing their shape, hoisting them up and down, and all that's done through the pedestal in the middle. So this drives any one of those 4 winches, and we select the winch by pulling on or letting go the string here. And then we've got control lines that come through a central tunnel down the middle, and each of these lines has a different job. And then we've got control lines that come in through the back here, and again they've all got specific jobs. There's a lot of rope everywhere. Now one of the main things you might notice is that when you're in the middle here, when you are managing the ropes here, which quite a lot of them hoist sails at the front of the boat, you you can't see forward, so you can't see anything, which can make it a little bit difficult. And we've got two ways to help out with that. So one is that we have a camera on the front of the mast. So look here now, we can see people working on the front of the boat there, and I can move the camera around, so that helps when we are working with someone on the foredeck and someone in this area here. But the other thing we've got up here is headsets, and when we're doing manoeuvres, the whole crew will wear headsets so that we can talk to each other and be really well coordinated. It's a very different way of sailing to sailing on your own, because of course when you're on your own you don't need to talk at all, whereas when you're sailing together as a crew and you can't see each other, you need to talk all the time about what you're doing, and you need to respond to people all the time, so you know they've heard you and you know what's going on. So there's a few new kind of things to learn with this cockpit. We're down below now, and it is a little bit messy. You probably notice in the cockpit as well it's a bit messy, but that's because we're getting ready for a race, so there's tools and kit everywhere. But down below, it's very, very dark, so there's no paint on the inside of this boat, and that's just to keep the weight low. So this is just the black carbon finish here. There are plenty of handholds around, and the other thing that you'll notice is the sharp edges have all got foam on them, because the motion of this boat can be quite violent, and so you kind of get thrown around a bit, and so wherever possible there's protection so that we can look after ourselves. But we also wear helmets a lot, and you can see the helmets are all hanging by the door there, ready for when times get rough. We've got our helmets hanging there. Now there is one kind of really luxurious thing about this boat, and that's we've got beds. Look at that. That's the bunk. It's made out of carbon. It's got a little mattress in it, and you can adjust the angle the bunk sits at using this rope here, so you can hinge it up or down depending on how far the boat's leaning over. Down here under here we've got our kitchen, so all the kind of cooking things we need, a little kettle, a gas bottle, and this is the tap. This is where the fresh water comes from, and we make water using a desalinator. Now this thing here has just been put on for the Ocean Race Europe. So as part of the Ocean Race Europe, we're taking part in some science projects, and this is a device that's going to sample water throughout the whole course, and it's analysing the water in here. It's taking GPS positions so we know where the water came from, and all of that data is going to be shared with ocean scientists and help them to understand the environment a little bit. So this here is where the foils live. These are the foil cases. So they come into the boat like that, and then all this area is watertight, and this is a watertight bulkhead here as well. So here's the hatch, and at any point you can just close this up and it will separate the boat off into individual compartments. So if you had a hull breach, that means if the hull was damaged and leaking in any one area, you should be able to isolate that area to keep the rest of the boat, to try and keep some buoyancy in the rest of the boat. So just inside here, behind this watertight door here, is the head of the keel. So that comes up through the bottom of the boat, and all inside here is wet. And that yellow bit there, that's the keel head. And then this piece here is a big hydraulic ram, and that's moving the keel from side to side. So it's pushing the keel head one way and the other, which in turn is canting the keel, so lifting the bulb out to one side or the other, which is providing righting moment. Okay, so I'm in under the foil cases here, and there's an access hatch there. so at any point we can look at the mechanism that's moving the foils in and out. And then up here is our sail locker. So this is where we store the sails when the boat is reaching with the wind on the side, or when we're going upwind, we store the sails up here. And then when we need them, or when we're going downwind, we take them out through this hatch here, and then we either hoist them or we move them to the back of the boat to keep the bow up in the air. So we're up on the bow now, and what can we see here? So this is a vent for the water ballast system. Now on this boat we've got water ballast in the front, we've got water ballast on each side, and we've got water ballast in the back. So the water ballast in the front we use when the boat is reaching, because when it's reaching and it flies really high, the bow can really lift off, and so we put extra weight in the front to keep the bow down. When we're going upwind, that's when the boat heels over the most, and that's when you use the ballast on the side. And then downwind, when the boat starts to nosedive, that's when you use the ballast at the back. And we fill up the ballast using kind of like an inverted snorkel under the boat. And you can tell that the ballast is full because water comes out of this vent on deck here. Now also up here, this is where our tack lines and furling lines are. And the interesting thing about this is everything is below the level of the deck. So you can see under here there's a hole that all of the tack lines are going through, and the furler just kind of sits up out of the hole. Now the reason for this is that it keeps all of this below the level of the deck, and it brings the sails closer down to the deck. So all the time you're bringing the centre of effort of the sail down to the deck, and you're reducing the gap between the deck and the sail, and this is just making everything more efficient all the time. So this is our J2. So this is the jib that we have up all the time, and it's on the structural forestay, so that just means this is the stay that is in place all the time. And then up here you can see we've got a further 2 furlers, and they go out to the end of the bowsprit there. So we've got 2 positions for sails on the end of the bowsprit, and we have a choice of 4 off-wind sails that we can use up there. So that's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but it'll just give you an idea of what the boat looks like, what kind of we're dealing with when we're sending you videos from the racetrack, and it's all a bit wild.